This past weekend, the Halo community has been pretty hyped because we finally got some footage for Halo Infinite. Not only does it look pretty decent, but the multiplayer overview that we were given a day after the reveal actually managed to go #1 trending on YouTube. Now sitting at the time of recording 1.7 mil views, and the trailer itself sitting at 1.1 mil views, Halo Infinite is doing pretty well on YouTube. And today I want to talk about while this is really cool to see and it shows that there's still interest in Halo, we do need to pump the brakes a little bit because ever since Halo's inception, maybe not Halo CE per se, has been a big brand. It's been Xbox's main franchise for almost 20 years now, and while that dynamic may change a little bit going into the future, as we saw from the recent E3 where maybe there was a bit more focus on some of Xbox's other studios, you cannot deny that over the past 20 years, regardless of if you liked the more recent Halo games, Halo has always been a major name and always has had tons of eyeballs and tons of exposure around each of its launches. Even looking at Halo 4, 5, or MCC, all of these games were pretty hyped up before launch and sold plenty of copies despite issues with those games and the fact that a lot of those games had player retention issues. This video is not going to go into a debate about the mechanics of Halo 4 and 5, but rather I'm going to kind of give you what I think are objective facts, especially about Halo 5 and MCC, about how while the pre-marketing and the pre-release hype for these games was there, these games did not live up to this hype, and while Halo Infinite most definitely looks good from what we have seen, there is no saying that this won't be the same case, and I think it's important that we as Halo fans set our expectations accordingly and not just drive hype through the roof just to have it all come crashing back down again if the game ends up not being that great. In general, and I'm not going to say this with absolute certainty, but a good videographer and a good editor can make a trailer out of almost any average or above average game and make the trailer look extremely exciting. I mean, look back through a lot of recent trailers in the past years for games that maybe didn't perform all that well and look back at them objectively and think to yourself, does this trailer itself look interesting? There's a reason that game trailers are made to be as exciting as possible because they want to sell copies. When you take the entire premise of a game and you jam it into 2 or 3 minutes, you can make the game look as exciting or as boring as the editor is able to. While it will give you some hints into what the game is and how the game will play, it is the most exciting moments of that game and what the team who put the trailer together thinks has the best opportunity to show that game off in a good light. Obviously, we also had the 12-minute multiplayer overview, which is a bit longer, but if we're being honest, this is kind of the same thing. If you watch through the multiplayer overview, while I loved it and I loved the information that 343 gave us, it's a lot of little clips of Halo Infinite kind of spliced together with developer commentary and developer facecam shots, right? This still isn't raw Halo Infinite gameplay, and so even though we can look at the multiplayer overview and the multiplayer trailer and say, you know what, this looks pretty good. I think I like X, Y, and Z. These look pretty good. And while we can look at the trailer and the multiplayer overview and go, yeah, I like a lot of the things in these videos and this game looks really good, we have to remember that this isn't necessarily completely accurate to what the game is going to be like when we finally get to play it. While personally, I thought the multiplayer trailer and the multiplayer overview looked really promising for Halo Infinite, other than a few mechanics maybe I'm a little bit worried about, overall, I left this weekend extremely positive. However, this by no certainty means Halo Infinite is going to be a perfect or absolutely amazing game. If you look back at the pre-release trailers and the pre-release content for Halo 5, Halo 5 looked pretty sweet. Now, there is a wide spectrum on people who disliked Halo 5 for different reasons, but discounting people who disliked Halo 5 for the mechanics itself, because those people weren't going to be won over regardless of what 343 did, Halo 5 failed out of the gate because it was devoid of content and missing tons of game modes and tons of features that previous Halo games had had. Just to name a few, we were missing BTB, Forge, Social, Infection, Assault, and many other things that Halo 5 was missing at launch. If you look at MCC just straight up didn't work at launch. And so while the features were there, quote unquote, I just couldn't even play the game for multiple years. And MCC is honestly one of the most disastrous AAA launches in recent memory. There's not much worse than it other than maybe Cyberpunk. And even Cyberpunk, to a certain degree, I would argue launched better. Cyberpunk was still playable for players for the most part, as long as you weren't on an older console and didn't mind putting up with bugs. MCC, If you were unlucky, you just straight up could not find matches in multiplayer. You could play through the campaign, but you weren't going to play multiplayer unless you were willing to sit through just matchmaking upon matchmaking upon matchmaking upon matchmaking. And while I will fully admit that both MCC and Halo 5 were greatly improved games toward the end of their support lifecycle, it is really important to remember that at launch, they were both not in a great position. And there's a reason that both MCC and Halo 5 hemorrhaged players at launch. Overall, I like to try and judge games on their own merits rather than going into a game with preformed opinions based on the developer. However, it is important to remember the developer that is developing the game you want to play. In 343's case, they have a proven track record to come out of the gate slow and improve a game over time. And while we hope that they have learned from their lessons over the past almost 10 years as a studio, there's no guaranteeing that they have. There's no guaranteeing that Halo Infinite is going to come out of the gate in a good position. It could very well be missing tons of content like Halo 5. It could very well be broken in different degrees like Halo MCC. So while yes, I for sure want Halo Infinite to be this amazing game, and I think it looks good, right? It's just important that we set our expectations realistically. It is very, very unlikely that Halo Infinite comes out of the gate absolutely perfect. And while it is supposed to be a 10-year project, which means 343 in theory should have time to improve it after the launch, Halo Infinite does need to hit the ground running a little bit faster than some of the previous 343 entries, or I think it's going to struggle, because I think fans this time around are going to be even less willing to put up with that since they've put up with it for the past couple 343 titles. Let's not even get into the fact that we have seen from multiple different stories, from multiple different journalists and leaks and everything, Halo Infinite development has not been butterflies and flowers. They have clearly had development issues. I mean, the game's been in development for how long and it's still not out, right? Not only has the company itself not produced great games on launch in the past, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing against 343 as people and as a company, I want them to succeed, but just going off their past merits, they haven't done a fantastic job at the launch of games. They've done a pretty decent job, in my opinion, of supporting these games post-launch and improving them over time, but at the launch of these games, they have definitely left a little bit to be desired. I also just want to talk about what it means and how actually important it is for a game to go #1 trending on YouTube. I saw a lot of people, and I'm not going to call anyone out, really hyped and really ecstatic that Halo was able to go #1 trending on YouTube. And don't get me wrong, it is cool. It is like a nice little feather on your hat. Like, hey, the multiplayer overview for Halo Infinite was #1 trending on YouTube. That's pretty sweet. It's really important to realize that Halo itself, we talked about this earlier, is a big name. Halo is going to pull eyeballs, and actually for more reasons than you think. Not only is Halo a big name, it's also a big name that hasn't been in the limelight in recent years, right? Not only have we not had a game in a while, some of the recent games haven't really pushed Halo into the mainstream like some of the original games did. And because of this, when you release a new game, it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs, not only from old fans who are curious about what the new Halo is going to look like and if they're going to be interested and come back to Halo, but also people from the outside. They've heard of Halo, they know that Halo used to be popular, and they're curious and want to see, can a franchise that had former glory return to that glory? So I think Halo itself as a franchise was fantastically positioned to go #1 trending on YouTube, kind of regardless of the quality or the features of Halo Infinite itself. As long as the trailer and the overview looked cool and had good information, it's no surprise to me that Halo was able to go #1 trending. But let's look at some other game trailers from around gaming, and I'll show you that getting a lot of views on your trailer and getting high like to dislike ratios on your trailers isn't really indicative of anything. So Call of Duty World War II, a Call of Duty game that is, for the most part, not critically acclaimed. It's a Call of Duty game that a lot of people would say is weaker, and it's a game that not a lot of people had that much love for. And here are a few of the Call of Duty World War II trailers. This was fueled by the fact that World War II was the return to boots on the ground, right? We have the reveal trailer with 25 million views, 91% like ratio, pretty good. We have the story trailer, 5.5 million views, 96% like ratio. We have the multiplayer reveal, 7.3 million views, 90% like ratio. So as you can see here, tons of views, pretty good like ratio, and a lot of people would tell you that Call of Duty World War II wasn't a fantastic game, even though it sold very well. Here's another Call of Duty title. Now this one's a little bit different because the like to dislike ratio is atrocious, but Call of Duty Infinite Warfare got a ton of views. The original reveal trailer, 45 million views, and we all know how people feel about Infinite Warfare. Now this one's views and interactions was definitely ran up by the fact that the internet was pissed off that they didn't go back to boots on the ground, but I'm just trying to give you guys some different examples of how going trending and getting lots of views doesn't correlate to a good game. So here's another one, Mass Effect Andromeda. You guys all know how Mass Effect Andromeda turned out once it actually released. Over 5 million views on the official launch trailer, over 7 million views on the E3 announcement trailer, and really good like to dislike trailers. And here's another one, Anthem. We all know how Anthem turned out, right? It's already pretty much done. They've confirmed they aren't doing Anthem 2.0 or whatever it was called. The game effectively flopped out of the gate because it just didn't have the gameplay and content that the players were hoping for. The cinematic trailer in 2018, 5.2 million. The launch trailer, 2.1 million. The official gameplay reveal in 2017, 9.3 million. All of these pretty good like to dislike ratios, and we saw what happened to Anthem, right? It effectively failed. It's effectively dead at this point. Here's another one that I'm sure everyone is aware of, Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I don't think I need to go into the nitty-gritty details about how terribly Cyberpunk 2077 released, but look at the numbers on these trailers, right? 33 million on the official gameplay trailer, 18 million on the official launch trailer. Cyberpunk was extremely hyped up, had a ton of buzz going around it, had multiple delays up until launch, and then as we saw, launched in a terrible state. Now, I'm not saying Halo Infinite's going to do the same. I'm just purely showing you guys this, that going trending and getting numbers on YouTube doesn't really mean anything in regards of how the game's actually going to turn out. So there's just a few examples. I could pull many more examples from recent gaming if we wanted to sit here all day, but I think I did a decent job of showing my point. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of games that get lots of hype before release and somewhat live up to that hype. But all I kind of wanted to do in this video was just show to you guys that it's really important that we set our expectations accordingly. We don't send the hype through the roof. Halo is not back yet, guys. I saw people on Twitter saying this. Halo is not back yet. Please do not make us a meme again. Halo is not back yet. Until Halo Infinite is out, until it's 6 months to a year down the line and Halo Infinite is still a popular game, Halo is not back yet. Currently, Halo is still dead. The hype is building for Halo Infinite and the interest for Halo is building again, but by no means is Halo back. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for the video. Let me know in the comments kind of how you're feeling about Halo Infinite. I'm excited. I think it looks good, but I just want our expectations and our hype levels to be set realistically. One thing I didn't mention during this video is that AAA gaming in general doesn't seem to produce games that are perfect anymore. A lot of AAA games release with flaws. I'm talking industry-wide. It's just almost the norm for AAA games to release, missing a bunch of content, having issues, and then be fixed post-launch. I would actually be curious in the comments, let me know what was the last multiplayer focused or multiplayer and campaign game that was a AAA release and actually released in a quote-unquote like 10 out of 10 state. I can't even honestly remember the last time that I played a AAA game on launch and thought to myself, this is perfect, this is amazing, like I would have said for something like Halo 3 back in the day, or even games outside of the Halo franchise. Games like Call of Duty 4, when I played that as a kid, I thought that game was absolutely perfect. Whereas now, there's lots of games that come out and I play them and I go, the core gameplay loop here is fun, I enjoy this, but it needs X, Y, or Z to kind of take it to the next level, and usually the developers do that. They improve these games over time and they get them into really, really good states, but at launch they're usually not there. With that said, guys, if you guys want to catch me stream things live, follow me over on Twitch. If you want to see me talk about things, follow me over on Twitter. If you want to see pictures, follow me over on Instagram. And with that said, I'll see you all next time.